You're 25 years old, scrolling through Instagram late at night. Picture-perfect images flash across the screen. Friends with dream jobs, peers backpacking through Bali, former classmates flashing diamond rings and champagne glasses. And while you want to be happy for them, that familiar anxiety creeps in. Am I falling behind? It's a question almost every 20-something secretly asks. Because society glorifies the glamorous side of your 20s, the travel, the promotions, the relationships. But what's rarely spoken about is how little these visible achievements have to do with what actually matters for long-term fulfillment and success. Most people in their 20s chase what's easy to show off: the job title, the vacation, the social life. But while they're chasing applause, they're quietly neglecting something far more important: the invisible foundations that determine their future capacity for meaning, resilience, and success. That's the shocking truth. And today, I want to walk you through exactly what to focus on in your 20s that nobody talks about, but everyone later wishes they had known. Because this decade isn't about grinding harder or living wilder. It's about the unsexy, high-leverage work that makes your 30s, 40s, and beyond truly legendary. The reunion that changed my perspective 2 years ago. I went to a college reunion. Everyone was catching up, sharing updates, trading stories about promotions, engagements, new homes. When my turn came, I didn't have anything spectacular to report. I hadn't bought a house, I wasn't in a glamorous job, and I wasn't in a relationship worth bragging about. Instead, I'd spent the past year rebuilding my mental health, cutting off toxic friendships, and clarifying my values. All invisible work. All things with zero status attached. And as I spoke, I felt like a failure. I went home that night and mentally created a scorecard of everything I thought I should have achieved by 27. The house, the car, the partner, the flashy job title. I beat myself up for every unchecked box. What I didn't realize at the time was that I had fallen into something psychologists call narrative conformity, judging my progress by society's cultural script rather than by what would actually serve. And this is where most people get trapped. The science behind your 20s, let's get scientific for a second. Your 20s are not just an extended adolescence. They're a critical developmental window where your brain is undergoing its final major reorganization. During this decade, your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for planning, decision-making, and self-regulation, is still being refined. That means your 20s are both incredibly malleable and consequential. And here's the problem. Every year you spend chasing the wrong things, the external validations, the applause, the shiny markers, is a year you're not spending building the internal foundations that will actually matter. Think of it this way. Would you rather spend your 20s building a house that looks impressive but has structural cracks beneath the surface? Or quietly laying a foundation that looks boring now but can eventually support something magnificent? Most people choose the former. They build what looks good. Few build what feels right. The early achievement paradox. This is what I call the early achievement paradox. The more desperately you chase external markers of success in your 20s, the salary, the partner, the status, the more likely you are to make compromises that sabotage your long-term trajectory. You take the prestigious job you secretly hate because it sounds impressive. You stay in a toxic relationship because the optics are good. You accumulate debt keeping up with an image you can't actually afford. And all of these decisions compound negatively. Now, don't get me wrong. Achievements in your 20s can absolutely matter. But they should be byproducts of the right focus, not the focus itself. The right focus is what I call identity capital, the invisible assets you build within yourself that nobody can take away and that appreciate over time. So the real question is, what exactly should you be building instead? The IC method, after years of studying the patterns of people who thrive not just in their 20s, but consistently through life, I've identified what I call the IC method. 3 foundational elements that generate exponential returns over time. I equals identity formation, discovering and solidifying who you are separate from external expectations. C equals capacity building, developing your ability to create value, manage complexity, and adapt. E equals energy protection, building systems and boundaries that preserve your most precious resource, your physical, mental, and emotional energy. The sad truth is, most people fail dramatically in all three areas. Let's break this down. What most 20-somethings actually do: graduate college and immediately optimize for salary or status. You take a job based on how impressive it sounds to others, not whether it builds valuable skills or aligns with your deeper interests. You adopt the beliefs, habits, and lifestyle of your peer group without questioning whether they're truly yours. You say yes to every invitation, every opportunity, every relationship, driven by FOMO, until you're spread too thin to excel at anything. You ignore the signals of burnout, pushing through with caffeine, late nights, and weekend recovery sessions. I know this pattern intimately because I lived it. In my early 20s, I took a prestigious consulting job that looked fantastic on LinkedIn, but taught me few transferable skills. I kept friendships that drained me because they connected me to important people. I said yes to every networking event, every project, every happy hour until I was completely drained. By 28, I had an impressive resume, but a hollow life, shallow relationships, chronic exhaustion, and little fulfillment. I was building a life that looked good, but felt terrible. Let's pause here. What about you? Have you felt the tension between building what looks good versus building what feels right? Have you felt pressured to take the prestigious path at the expense of the meaningful one? Or maybe you've made a choice others questioned but felt deeply right to you. If so, you're not alone. And your perspective could help others listening right now who are facing that same dilemma. Why the alternative path is harder, but better. Choosing the alternative path requires courage, because it often means making decisions that others don't understand or approve of in the short term. But this is exactly what makes it valuable. While everyone else is playing the same game, chasing the same visible rewards, you're building long-term asymmetric advantages. So let's get practical. How do you actually implement the IC method in your daily life? Part 1. Identity formation. The goal here is to separate your authentic self from your conditioned self, to discover who you are without the noise of external expectations. There are 3 practices that make this possible. 1. Value excavation. Write down your current goals. Then, for each one, ask why 5 times. This simple practice reveals whether your goals come from your own values or from external pressure. When I thought I wanted to become a lawyer, the 5 whys revealed I didn't care about law. What I wanted was respect and financial stability. Realizing this freed me to look for those outcomes in ways that actually aligned with my passions. 2. Controlled failure exposure. Deliberately put yourself in situations where failure is possible, but the stakes are low. This helps you separate your sense of self from your outcomes. I once took a stand-up comedy class, terrifying but low stakes. Bombing on stage taught me to detach my identity from external success, which later gave me courage to take smarter risks in my career. 3. Relationship inventory. Make a 2-column list. Energy givers and energy takers. Review it every few months. Gradually spend more time with the givers and less with the takers. This one practice alone can reshape your trajectory. Part 2. Capacity building. Once you've clarified who you are, the next step is building the ability to create value and adapt. These are the skills that compound over decades. There are 3 meta skills to focus on. 1. Deep work capacity, the ability to focus intensely without distraction. In our distracted age, this is a superpower. Start with 30 minutes a day of undistracted work. No phone, no email, no multitasking. Increase gradually until you can sustain 2 to 3 hours. That one practice alone will put you ahead of 95 of your peers. 2. Discomfort tolerance, the ability to engage with difficult emotions instead of avoiding them. Start small. Cold showers, having a hard conversation, reaching out to someone you admire but feel intimidated by. The specifics don't matter. What matters is training yourself to move toward discomfort, not away from it. 3. Learning agility, your ability to learn new skills quickly. Try skill sprints. Dedicate 30 days to learning one new skill intensively. Coding, public speaking, financial literacy, a new language. The point isn't the specific skill, it's building the muscle of rapid learning. Part 3. Energy protection. This is the most neglected piece. Protecting your energy ensures you can actually sustain growth. There are 3 systems here. 1. Attention hygiene. Cut out inputs that create noise and comparison. That might mean deleting social apps from your phone, unsubscribing from useless newsletters, or setting strict boundaries around media consumption. I did this at 26 and reclaimed 15 hours a week, which I reinvested into deep work and meaningful relationships. 2. Recovery rhythm. Don't wait until you're burnt out to rest. Build rest into your weekly system. 1 daily ritual for renewal. 1 midweek reset with no screens. 1 weekend day completely unplugged. 3. Decision minimization. Reduce low-impact choices to free up mental energy. Meal templates, capsule wardrobes, automated savings, morning routines. Decision fatigue silently drains your best energy. My life at 29, by the time I hit 29, I wasn't burnt out. I wasn't lost in relationship drama. I wasn't scrambling to figure out who I was. Instead, I had built a strong identity, valuable skills, and sustainable energy systems. Not because I was special, but because I had invested in the right foundations while others were busy maintaining appearances. And here's the shift that made all the difference. I learned to pause and ask, am I drawn to this because it aligns with my long-term values or because it looks good to others in the short term? That one self-check has saved me years of wasted effort and thousands of dollars chasing empty goals. 4 overlooked investments in your 20s beyond the ICE method. There are 4 critical investments most people completely miss in their 20s. 1. Psychological flexibility. Most people lock themselves into rigid plans and identities. Then when life disrupts those plans, they collapse. Instead, build provisional identities. Treat your 20s as exploration, not declaration. Ask, what am I curious about now? 2. Relationship depth over breadth. 1 true ally is worth 100 acquaintances. Focus on deepening a handful of meaningful relationships instead of spreading yourself thin across hundreds of shallow ones. 3. Process over outcomes. Fall in love with the daily routines that generate results, not the flashy milestones. Habits beat goals every time. 4. Long-time horizons. Stop optimizing for the next 12 months. Think in terms of 5, 10, 20 years. Ask, what will my future self thank me for investing in right now? The challenge. So here's my challenge to you. Choose just one element of the ICE method this week and implement it. Maybe it's 30 minutes of deep work. Maybe it's finally having that difficult conversation. Maybe it's deleting one social app that triggers comparison. Start small, but start. Because in a world obsessed with looking successful, the real power move is becoming the kind of person who can't help but succeed, whether anyone is watching or not. Your 20s don't have to be defined by anxiety, comparison, or hollow achievements. They can be the decade where you quietly build the foundations for a life of meaning, resilience, and freedom. And if you commit to this invisible work now, you'll look back in your 30s and beyond with gratitude, not regret. So start today. The applause can wait. Build what lasts.